You're listening to Catholic Chicago. Ahead, the Archdiocese of Chicago brings you programs about the people, events, and issues that touch our lives. Welcome to Catholic Chicago.
Good morning. Welcome to Catholic Chicago on WNDZ 750 AM 312-255-8408. 8408. It's Monday morning. Haven't had enough coffee. Father Greg Sakowicz, the rector of Holy Name Cathedral, and co-hosting Mark Teresi, executive director. Good morning, Mark. How are you doing today?
Good morning. I'm doing very well. Very nice weekend. We were talking on the way over about Father Michael Bradley at St. Gertrude's, his retirement mass. It was just beautiful. You could just feel the love in the room for him. He's a canon lawyer. He's downtown, but he's in residence there, but he's a full-fledged associate pastor doing wonderful work.
Now that makes me feel old because Mike was ordained a year before me in 78. I'm class of 79.
Wow. And
these guys are now retiring, so it...
You're not.
I hope not to. Mm-hmm. I hope not to. God is good, but the class of 78 has some wonderful priests. Also, you can watch us on live stream, youtube.com/Catholic Chicago. We have a great program lined up today. The first half hour, we have with us as our guest Richard O'Shaughnessy, the president of the Polish Museum of America. Richard, welcome to the program this morning. How are you doing?
Good. Thank you for inviting me. It's a pleasure to be here and an honor to be here with a fellow Don.
And I was going to say, you reminded me before the program, class of 71, Notre Dame College Prep in Niles. You're the class of 78, Notre Dame, because you were raised in Niles, and I was
Correct.
Raised in Park Ridge. And, of course, Mark, your class of
673 at Quigley.
Quigley Seminary. And so, Richard, for many people, they may be unaware of the Polish Museum of America. It's on Milwaukee Avenue near Division. What is the exact address?
It's 984 North Milwaukee Avenue in the heart of the old Polish downtown.
And I'll give you one more. I was born 1124 North Milwaukee.
Well, right down the street. Yeah,
down the street,
from
about
us.
a block and a half away. My parents were married in 52 at Holy Trinity. And I was born in February of 53, and I was born in St. Mary's Hospital, but, raised for the first 2 years, right there in Milwaukee, a block and a half away from the Polish Museum.
So was I. I was born St. Mary of Nazareth.
Were you really?
All 7 of my siblings and I are born there.
That is amazing. Now, maybe for our listeners, Richard, give us a bit of a background in history. When did the doors first open?
Sure. Well, for years, the Polish community was trying to, start a museum of Polish culture, heritage, and history. And this goes back to the late 1800s, 1890s, early 1900s, and just never gained steam. The Polish Roman Catholic Union, under the leadership of Joseph Kania, the president in the 1930s, was one of those individuals who was trying to make sure that we get a museum established. And he brought the idea to the convention of the Polish Roman Catholic Union, several times. And it was not until the convention in 1933 that the delegates finally approved the concept of the museum, but more importantly, they approved funding for starting a museum. And so in 1935, the museum was founded as the Museum Archives of the Polish Roman Catholic Union. And one of the very first things that President Kania did was hire a curator. And the curator's name was Mieczysław Hyman. He was a historian, he was a writer, and he was the reason why we have what we have here today. He gave his life to the museum. He put out an appeal worldwide for people to donate artifacts, books, paintings, anything that had to do with Polish history and culture. And through his efforts, we have our collections that you see today. He became close friends with Ignacy Paderewski's sister, Antonina Wilkonska, and he convinced her to donate the maestro's personal effects and belongings to the museum right after his death in 1941. Wow. In addition, he also made an effort to get the artifacts from the Polish pavilion at the World's Fair in 1939. In 1939, the Poland sent a whole exhibit to New York City. And what happened in 1939, September 1st, well, Poland was invaded by Germany. And Poland, once again, was conquered by a nation that was an aggressor. And when the fair closed in 1940, the artifacts had no place to go to. And so Hyman, pushed and got the fair commissioners to agree to donate a vast majority of the artifacts to the Polish Museum of America, as well as the Polish Museum had to purchase things. And it is just a fascinating history of how the artifacts got to us. We have the original billing, shipping documents that show every single document, that the artifact that was donated or bought by the museum that was sent by rail to Chicago from New York. And so, because of the efforts of people like Hyman and the efforts of the president of the Polish Roman Catholic Union at that time, we were able to amass many, many things that we find today in our collections, and things that, we're the only ones that have. You can't find a lot of these things in Poland.
Richard, I've got one for you, and that is sure. With my name, Sakowicz or Polish, Sakowicz, my mother Osikowicz or Oskowicz. In 1966, when Poland celebrated 1,000 years of Christianity, my father, Sig, was put in charge of the entire project for communications and events in Chicago. And in the 1990s, I think it was, long after my father had left Chicago, gone to Vegas for radio and TV, he donated a tremendous amount of material for Poland's 1,000 years of Christianity to the museum. I'm sure it's somewhere in archival material there.
Well, yeah, for the 1050th anniversary of the celebration of the 1,000 years of millennium, we had an exhibit at that time, and the majority of the artifacts that were on display for the 6 months were from all the items that your father donated. I mean, letters and logs, and we even had the financial books of all the money that was raised, to put on, the various events that took place in 1966. So those artifacts are there. They were displayed, for the 50th anniversary of the millennium, and it comprised the bulk of the exhibit that was up at that time.
Two questions. The first one is, in those archives, were there any baby pictures of Father Greg?
I don't think there were any. Well, depending on what your definition of baby pictures are, but I think there was a picture of Father Greg and his father in the collection there.
I'll tell you what it was. And Richard, you had a great memory. In 1966, in July, with a big opening event at Soldier Field, I gave the Pledge of Allegiance in English.
Wow.
In front of about 40 or 50,000, 60,000 people. I was scared out of my mind, but my father had me do the Pledge of Allegiance at Soldier Field, at the 50-yard line, and that might have been that picture.
You didn't precede it. You didn't precede it with a joke, did you? What a crowd! What a crowd! What a crowd. Richard, I had a question. How did you get interested in this? This is when did it start?
Well, the museum, actually goes back for me when I was a kid. One of the things all our parents did, the friends of my parents, was, in addition to going to Polish Saturday school, mm-hmm. you came to the Polish Museum, and you came to learn about your history and your heritage. And after that was when I was a kid, but I became more involved post college in helping raise funds for the museum, and volunteering here and there. And then, about 15 years ago, I became very active by joining the board. And, lo and behold, down the line, I became president in 2015 of the museum.
And by the way, I know your predecessor extremely well, Maria Chesler, husband Richard, and family were very active at St. Mary of the Woods in Edgebrook. So Maria, who preceded you, did a marvelous job like you. And, along those same lines, when you were a boy, did you spend time at the museum? Did your parents take you there often?
Well, the museum today and yesterday, it's almost day and night. It was a different feel to it. And, you went a couple of times, because obviously as a kid, it's hard to concentrate, and you don't have that appreciation of what you're seeing as a 10-year-old or a 12-year-old. It's not until later in life, after you've gone through high school and gone through college and have learned that appreciation. And I'm involved with Polish Scouts, so I started taking my Polish Scouts to the museum on field trips for them to learn about their culture and their history and their heritage. And I have to tell you, one of our biggest groups, because we do tours of the museum, group tours, and one of our biggest groups that come to the museum are the Polish Saturday schools. We have an excellent relationship with the Polish Teachers Association, and this is pre-COVID. Every Saturday, we would have several buses coming in, dropping off kids for an hour and a half to do a tour and have activities for them, and be able for them to learn about their heritage. And it's just amazing to watch these kids. They're usually sixth grade and above, and and there are activities planned with the teachers so they understand. So the kids get an understanding of what they're seeing and to appreciate that. And I got to tell you, when I was a kid, I never thought or never imagined in my lifetime that I'd be the president of this organization. And, you never know. Some of these kids that come here today, they'll be the ones who will be running the Polish Museum in the future for us.
Now, you said that it's housed at 984 North Milwaukee Avenue. The
Correct.
Building itself was built in what year?
It was built in 1913, and it's the national headquarters of the Polish Roman Catholic Union, who founded the Polish Museum of America. And in the beginning, in 1933, the Polish Museum was located in one little room where today it's the Paderewski room, and that's where the whole museum was. The expansion of the museum happened in the 1940s when we received the Paderewski collection, donated by his sister, and the World's Fair collection, and that prompted the PRCA to donate the hall, the Great Hall, of where you come today, and you see, as you walk out of the elevator, you see the stained glass of Poland Reborn, which is from the World's Fair in 1939. And because of that expansion, we were able to occupy the biggest part of the building, which is the Great Hall, and include other exhibits from the World's Fair as cultural exhibits, historical exhibits. We have a Kościuszko exhibit, and then probably the most famous painting of all in the museum is the Pulaski at Savannah painting, where you see him riding on his horse and he's getting killed in action.
Wow.
And that painting is known worldwide. A couple of years ago, a minister from Poland came and visited us, and he was walking around, and he walks up to the painting, he looks up, and he tells me, he goes, "You know what? My entire life I've seen that picture in books, but I never imagined that I would one day be standing in front of the original painting." And so it's a world recognized painting. And as you see right there, at that time, this is 1969, I believe, Cardinal Wojtyła visiting the museum on his visit to Chicago.
We're going to do is we're going to take. First, I want to thank Michael May and Brian Brock for showing great video and photos from your museum. Mark, take us to break.
We're WNDZ, 750 AM, Catholic Chicago, 312-255-8408, or you can go to youtube.com/Catholic Chicago. We'll be back in a few minutes with Richard O'Shawney, President of Polish Museum of America. Maybe when we come back, Richard, we can talk about some of the challenges that you face as president of the Polish Museum of America. We'll be back in a few minutes. Please stay tuned.
Catholic Charities, we fight hunger in Chicago throughout the year. Our 6 regional offices in Cook and Lake counties work together to offer sit-down and to-go meals to anyone in need. We deliver meals to those who are homebound, and our 8 food pantries offer 3 to 4 days of food supplies based on household size. Participants in these programs have the opportunity to learn about other Catholic charity services that strengthen individuals, families, and their communities. The challenges for those dealing with food insecurity are especially great during the winter months. To learn how you can help those who are hungry in your neighborhood, visit CatholicCharities.net or call 312-655-7525. That's 312-655-7525. Thank you for your generosity.
I feel special. I feel great. I got good grades.
We've seen a huge surge in our kids now meeting or exceeding grade level. Come check us out. You may have never thought we were an option before.
Ancestry and genealogy are more important every day. People all over the world are wanting to learn more about their family heritage for personal and for health reasons. At Catholic Charities, we are hearing from adults who lived for a brief time at St. Vincent's Orphanage, the wonderful life-affirming agency that operated out of our headquarters for 91 years, serving thousands of women, children, and families until it closed in 1972. Our post-adoption services help adults who want to learn more about their experience at St. Vincent's. Our compassionate staff members provide whatever family background information they can offer, along with support and reunion services. To learn more, call 312-655-7093. That's 312-655-7093. The spirit of St. Vincent's lives on in the inspiring stories that continue to emerge today.
We're back, WNDZ 750 AM, Catholic Chicago, 312-255-8408, or you can go to youtube.com/Catholic Chicago. We're with Richard Oshani, who is the president of the Polish Museum of America, which is at 984 North Milwaukee Avenue. And before the break, Richard gave you a little bit of time. You probably have them right on the tip of your tongue anyway. But what are the challenges, especially during this COVID time? What are the challenges for a president of a museum where you want people to come and see what you have, the treasures you have?
Well, I think, like many cultural institutions, especially during the pandemic, it's raising money to keep the institution moving forward. And that's probably our biggest challenge. We have people who come to the museum during our hours of operation, and I think that's the easy part. The hard part is how do you keep the institution moving forward and raising the money to be able to provide guests and visitors, the experience of being able to learn about, the Polish heritage, the Polish culture, and the Polish history. And that's our biggest challenge. COVID, taught us a big lesson, probably like many institutions, that you have to be innovative. You have to think out of the box to be able to survive. There are many of our sister organizations that close their doors. Yeah. Are today, even today, having struggling to keep afloat. We are lucky and fortunate that we have a base of financial supporters who believe in our mission, which is preserving the past to benefit the future. And we have also thank God that our friends in Poland through the Ministry of Culture supported us through various grants to enable us to do programming through COVID, for example, that kept us moving. And one of the innovative things we decided, because obviously during COVID, many institutions closed down. We weren't sure in 2020 and early 2021, what the effects of that virus is. The contact, the social distancing, and all that stuff. We weren't prepared. Nobody was prepared for something like this. Mm-hmm. So as an organization, we made a decision that we needed to do something to make sure we kept our presence. And what we did is we turned to the medium of social media, as well as many institutions did. The Archdiocese, I know, did the same thing, and to maintain that contact. And one of the things we started doing, we started shooting videos of various parts of the museum, whether it's a collection, whether it's an event, whether it's about a historical thing that happened in Polish history, whatever that topic was. We started filming things about the museum and how our collections are part of that video.
Now, Richard, can I interrupt you for a second? One of the important things that you told us that our listeners should know is you're the president. You don't get a salary. You're a volunteer. I think people need to hear that. That's an important part of fundraising. The idea that you're standing there, you have a passion for this mission, and you're doing it out of the goodness of your heart.
Yeah, well, that's our whole board. Our board of directors are volunteers. Our officers are volunteers. We do have a staff that runs the day-to-day operations of the museum, and they do a wonderful job of doing their work. Mm-hmm. You have to realize the museum is not just about museum visits, because that's just it's a part of the work. But the bigger thing is, somebody has to maintain the collection. Somebody has to take care of our collections. Yes. Somebody has to put these exhibits up, and that involves having professionals, as the museum has professionals who do this and do a wonderful job of showcasing elements of our Polish history and our Polish culture. And it's just a wonderful experience to come in and see people who are passionate about their work, and as well as our volunteers. We have a big cadre of volunteers who come in and help out during an event, help out coming during the week to stuff envelopes or help us organize things. But we do have that combination of volunteerism as well as our professional staff makes our museum very successful.
Now, Richard, I have a question for you, and that is, do you receive phone calls often from people who say, I have an item or two I'd like to donate to the museum? Do those calls happen
constantly? Constantly. And the one of the things you have to realize that what an individual sees as being historical or important may not have that same meaning to us. Somebody may have an artifact that their father had, and it's been in the family for 50, 60 years, which is beautiful, but it may not have that value to us, that we're looking for in terms of something that's going to be displayed. But there are individuals who do donate things that are necessary to our collection and enhance our collection, so that we have a wide range of artifacts available for eventual display. Like many museums, what's displayed at the museum is probably just a tip of the iceberg compared to what's actually in storage, and that gives us the ability to change things every so once in a while, so that you can come back to the museum and see something different or learn something about something that you didn't know previously.
Well, now, Richard, we're looking at these photos here on the screen for those who are watching YouTube. First of all, I think people are unaware how big the museum is. We're not talking just one room.
It's stunning.
We're talking a full building, because I've been there several times. Now, another question just from the one I asked before is, in the last 10 or 15 years, what item has been received by the museum with a phone call that's just absolutely rare, priceless, or you never imagined your museum would hold it?
You put me on the spot there. Something that we got in the last 15 years. We've gotten things that are variable. I think the most important thing and it's not something that we've gotten. What we've gotten is we've gotten support to conserve our collection and repair, for example, paintings. Our a lot of our paintings come from the World's Fair in 1939, and some of these paintings go back, before 39, and time has its effects. And being able to repair and conserve a painting and bring it back to life, and is an amazing thing. We have a cooperative agreement with the Polonika Institute in Poland to conserve our paintings, and in the last 2 years, we've conserved over 30 paintings and sculptures and artifacts that, if we didn't have their help, these things would have just kept on deteriorating. And that's probably, and that's the one thing people don't realize. The museum is just, again, I was saying earlier, the museum is not just about visits. Our staff is also tasked with making sure and ensuring that our collections are kept and cared for, so that when they are displayed at their very best.
Richard, for our museum, I'm sorry, I want to make sure people understand, because we're looking. The YouTube folks are looking at pictures. Our listeners are not. They have passed this museum hundreds of times and may not know they've passed it. Can you physically describe where it is from the expressway? It looks like.
Sure.
Yeah, go ahead.
Well, we have about weekly, maybe I think it's daily. If you're driving on the Kennedy, whether you're going south on the Kennedy or north on the Kennedy, there's about 200,000 cars that pass that building every single day.
Exactly.
So people know it. So the museum is located on the corner of Milwaukee and Division, and if you're driving to the museum, you would get off at Division and go west on Division to Milwaukee, make a left on Milwaukee, and down the street you'll see our building at Milwaukee and Augusta, and we have free parking for all our guests. If you're taking the CTA, you can get off at either Division stop on the L or at Chicago, and take the 56 bus and get off at Noble, and just a 1 block walk south to the museum, and you're there.
And now, Richard, if someone wants to make a donation to the museum, give us some email address or a phone number.
Sure. You can go onto our website at www.polishmuseumofamerica.org.
One more time.
And you can www.polishmuseumofamerica.org. And you can become a member. We have our membership online, and you can make a donation online as well, and through your credit card.
What about a phone number if you want to call the main office?
If you want to call the PMA, the phone number is, let me get it, Rick. I always have a remember. It is 773-384-3352.
That number once again.
773-384-3352. And the museum is open for visits on Tuesdays, Thursdays, and Saturdays from 11 a.m. to 4 p.m.
Wonderful. I want to thank in a very special way Richard O'Shaughnessy, the president of the Polish Museum of America. Richard, you've been a fantastic guest. I mean, you are like a walking historian with the history of the place, what's in there now. And it's, Mark, I think you'd agree, in listening to Richard, there's such a passion about you regarding Polish history, heritage, culture, and it's in your voice and it's in your knowledge. And
actually, my mom is a Staniec. So you talking to you brought me back to the idea that, and I hope our listeners join me, I'm going to join. That's part of my history, and it's fascinating to me with what you shared that I want to go visit. I want to reconnect with some of my roots.
And on that note,
well, just one more. Well, I would like to invite both of you and all your viewers and listeners to Pulaski Day on March 7th. We will be streaming that live from the museum, and you can log on to our website, and there will be a link to the event and paying tribute to Casimir Pulaski on March 7th from the museum.
Richard, on that note, we'll take it from there, and God bless you for your great work, and we'll be back after these messages, and again, do not touch that dial.
Throughout the COVID-19 pandemic, Catholic Charities has continued to respond to the needs of people who come to us for assistance. More than 850,000 meals and food parcels have been offered to those who are struggling with food insecurity. Over 108,000 homelessness prevention hotline calls have been answered. Over 22,000 people have received mental health services, and $2 million in financial assistance has been provided to keep people housed. If you or someone you know needs assistance, email us at gethelp@catholiccharities.net. That's gethelp@catholiccharities.net. Or call 312-655-7700. That's 312-655-7700. Before, during, and after COVID-19, Catholic Charities is here for you.
I am a seminarian.
The church needs compassionate and well-trained priests to help guide each of us through life.
What inspires me, what draws me always to the priesthood is continue to see priests be a beacon of hope for other people.
You can play a part in the education of these young men as they prepare for a life of service to others.
I want to be that beacon of hope too, and it sets my heart on fire.
To support our seminarians, make your gift at archchicago.org/seminarian fund or call 312-534-7959.
The cemetery ministry is a core ministry of our Catholic faith tied to the corporal works of mercy. It's comforting to know that our Catholic cemeteries are caring for the remains of our loved ones awaiting the resurrection. There are 44 Archdiocese of Chicago Catholic cemeteries willing to help you in your time of loss. Call 708-449-6100 or visit CatholicCemeteriesChicago.org. Catholic Cemeteries, serving the Catholic community since 1837.
You're listening to Catholic Chicago. Ahead, the Archdiocese of Chicago brings you programs about the people, events, and issues that touch our lives. Thanks for letting us be part of your morning. Now again, Catholic Chicago.
Welcome back to Catholic Chicago on WNDZ 750 AM 312-255-8408. You can also get us on youtube.com/Catholic Chicago on this Monday morning, the last day of January. It's hard to believe that a month ago today was the last day of 2021. And tomorrow begins February. And I hear, Mark, that big snowstorm coming tomorrow evening all through Wednesday and possibly Thursday morning. They're unable to give an amount, but I'm sure it won't match out east, Boston. They got 2 feet of snow in some communities, 30 inches of snow.
Driving in today, it looks like a Chicago winter. There's snow and more is coming.
Yeah, but the thing is, having gone through January, you get through February into March, and then you see light at the end of the tunnel. But it's been at this point, a average mild winter. How's this? 3 years ago today, 31st of January, February 1, was that polar vortex where we had 50 degrees below zero wind chill today and tomorrow. We have a great second half lined up, 312-255-8408. Officer Michael Carroll of the Chicago Police Department, who is a religious communities outreach liaison with the police department, joins us. Officer Michael Carroll, welcome to the program this morning. How are you, Mike?
Good, sir. How are you?
Good, thanks. Welcome to the program. Are you born and raised in Chicago?
I am. I was I was born and raised in the city. I went to Queen of All Saints growing up.
Oh, sure.
And so I'm from the north side.
Where'd you go to high school?
Loyola Academy.
Oh, my gosh. And I was pastor for 18 years, or associate, and then pastor next door at St. Mary of the Woods.
Really?
So I'm positive you would have grown up with guys in the neighborhood who connected with St. Mary of the Woods and their family.
Oh, I know many, many people who went to St. Mary of the Woods. It was always a joke, though, because it was us versus them. Those are the guys on the other side of the tracks. So the football and basketball, the guys at St. Mary of the Woods ended up being some of my best friends in high school. But in grammar school, a little different.
Boy, do you have you summarized it well? Oh my gosh, officer, that's to the T. And well, now, for example, you are the religious communities outreach liaison. Maybe explain for our listeners exactly how that position happened and what does that mean.
So the position started last year, and they came up with many of these organizations. One of these officers that are officers work in different communities. So we have a liaison for the faith-based community, which is me. We have an officer for the homeless community, LGBT officers. So the focus is working with people in those communities that might not have a good connection with officers. So my focus is people who are in smaller faith groups. So the Jewish community, the Catholic community, groups that are not have as many as other. Granted, there are more Catholics in the city than some might think, but it is a way for me to connect with those different communities that might not have a good relationship with officers or may have no relationship with officers. So the focus is for me to do outreach to those groups and learn more about them. I know much about them, but they might not know about officers. So the more that we know as officers about those faith groups, the better that we can serve them in our community.
Michael, did you inherit the position or did you create the position?
It was put out because it is part of the consent decree. So I had put in through it. So in school, I had studied theology. I had lived overseas. I have lived in a bunch of places. When I was in high school, the Jesuits, I drank the Kool-Aid, let's say. So I wanted to make service part of my life. So after college, I was in the Peace Corps, and I volunteered in Africa and in Asia. And then my time living over there, I wanted to learn as much as I could about different faith groups and faith communities and just serve my community. This position with the department just kind of fit that bill. When it came out, I said, this is perfect for me because this was my background when I had lived overseas, serving the community in different groups that might not be like my family, like my community. And that was my hope with it. And so far, so good.
It's interesting, Mike, that your background, Queen of All Saints, Loyola Academy, so Catholic grammar school, Catholic high school, that it's so part of you, but then yet you wanted to give your life as a Chicago police officer. And I will say this on the air, the Chicago Police Department are the unsung heroes, along with our first responders and hospitals and the doctors and the nurses and the whole staffs, for the great work that you do. When I see a police officer, I'm at Holy Name Cathedral, so I'm walking to the hospital or just walking by Michigan Avenue, whatever, I see a police officer, I go up and say, thank you, and may God bless you. And I mean that sincerely, the work that you do. And like anything, does it have its problems? Yeah, welcome to the human family for all of us.
Yeah, right.
But in your life, with your foundation in Catholicism, but you wanted to give your life as a police officer, when did you make that decision to say, I want to serve the people of God as a Chicago police officer?
So for me, I always wanted to be a cop. So growing up, what did you want to be when you grew up? I want to be an astronaut. I want to dance. I want to whatever. I always wanted to be a cop. I never thought that I actually would be. I went in college. I went to a Jesuit school. I went to Fairfield University in Fairfield, Connecticut. So for me, I wanted to make service part of my life. So I went into the Peace Corps, and like everything with all of us, I was there during the terrorist attacks. Oh, so wow. I watched, I was in Africa, and I watched on the television, they had firebombed a mosque in the south suburbs of our city, and they had killed, I think it was 1 or 2 Sikhs who aren't even Muslim. So these things are happening, and people are blaming others for things that happen that have nothing to do with their faith. And it just clicked. I came home after the terrorist attacks, and just by chance, the test was being offered for the department. I did that, took the test, and I left again and lived 9 months at an AIDS hospice and orphanage in Bangkok, Thailand, with Father Joseph Meyer at the Human Development Foundation, which is in Bangkok, Thailand. And then when I had to start paying off my college loans, just by chance, I came home, and that in the mail at Mom's house was the letter from the department to enter into the next steps to be an officer. So for me, it was this service that I chose. It just kind of fell into place, but ended up being the perfect spot for me. I chased bad guys and did, crime fighting for about a decade before I went into other positions. And this is my current position that I'm proud to have.
Now, can I ask Father Greg to tell Mike, because you said chance just happened, blah, blah, blah. Not blah, 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 but you know what I'm saying.
I do.
Greg, can you explain
talk
to Michael what that process was about
a coincidence?
Yes.
A great line. Here's a great line. A coincidence is God's way of remaining anonymous. That's coincidence.
You're on a path.
I fully agree.
You're on a path.
God's way of remaining anonymous. We can say, oh, what a coincidence, Mike. This happened, this happened. No. It's God, the believer, God weaving through our lives in very mysterious ways. The unbeliever will say, oh, what a coincidence in your life. No. The believer would say, God's way of remaining anonymous, working through your life, and yet you're responding to that call. And yet it's sometimes hard to listen because we get in our own way. So now the position you're in right now, Mike, as the Religious Communities Outreach Liaison, is that a one-year position or is that ongoing?
Full time. I am ongoing. So I am the one in the whole department. Every district should have a faith-based officer in the district. We also have affinity officers. So every district will have an officer who will speak to that community. One officer working for the whole faith community is quite difficult. This is a very large city. So I would work in conjunction with those officers in those districts. And not every area has issues with reaching out to our officers. So some faith groups, like what happened, for instance, in Texas, was it last week or 2 weeks ago, that obviously brought up a lot more needs in our Jewish community. So we had a lot more outreach with those faith groups. For me, it's reading the news, following the news, seeing what's happening in order to make sure that I outreach to that community or to this community. And it's a work in progress. I am the first one. I have the background of it, but I learn things new every single day. If I say that I know everything about my job, being an officer for just over 18 years, I don't know everything. And the more that I learn from the community that I serve, the more that I do outreach, the better officer I can be, the better dad I can be, and part of this community.
Now, completely sidebar, different type of question, not to ambush you. With your background, sure. Did you ever think about priesthood?
I actually did quite some time ago, and I went to a Jesuit college, and it did come up in my mind, but I thought that I had met my then girlfriend, now wife. This was my path. I think I know the priesthood is harder for some people, and it is a thing that I had for sure thought about, but this was my path. And
well, I think you would have been.
There were many things that I'm sorry.
I think you would have been a great one because you're a
thank
great
you very
police
much.
officer. You're a man of service and passion, and all giving back to the community. That's who you are. Mark, go ahead, Mike.
I was going to say I actually do read at Mass as much as possible. Not only because I choose to, and I like doing it. It helps me better to speak in public. I worked with with our department for 4 years in the news media. So talking with the media about whatever the issues might be. So my practice is going to Mass because I'm a good. I try to be a good Catholic. So I want to do as much volunteering at my kids' school and at my parish as I possibly can. So
that is terrific.
That's wonderful.
Mark, take us to break.
Sure. WNDZ 750 AM, Catholic Chicago 312-255-8408. Or you can go to youtube.com/Catholic Chicago. We'll be back in a few minutes with Officer Michael Carroll, the Religious Communities Outreach Liaison with the Chicago Police Department. Maybe when we come back, Michael, you could share with us some of the challenges that you see today in your position. We'll be back in a few minutes. Please stay tuned.
Catholic Charities, we fight hunger in Chicago throughout the year. Our 6 regional offices in Cook and Lake counties work together to offer sit-down and to-go meals to anyone in need. We deliver meals to those who are homebound, and our 8 food pantries offer 3 to 4 days of food supplies based on household size. Participants in these programs have the opportunity to learn about other Catholic charity services that strengthen individuals, families, and their communities. The challenges for those dealing with food insecurity are especially great during the winter months. To learn how you can help those who are hungry in your neighborhood, visit CatholicCharities.net or call 312-655-7525. That's 312-655-7525. Thank you for your generosity.
Welcome back.
Es fabuloso verlos.
Dobrze jest znowu być razem.
It's good to be together again.
After so many months apart, pandemic capacity limits have been lifted, and we want to welcome everyone back to church. We can all pray together again. And listen as our choirs lift their voices in song.
We've been together in spirit.
And now, when you are ready, our doors are open wide.
Nuestras puertas están abiertas de par en par.
Nasze drzwi są otwarte.
And we're here to welcome you back to Catholic Mass.
Ancestry and genealogy are more important every day. People all over the world are wanting to learn more about their family heritage for personal and for health reasons. At Catholic Charities, we are hearing from adults who lived for a brief time at St. Vincent's Orphanage, the wonderful life-affirming agency that operated out of our headquarters for 91 years, serving thousands of women, children, and families until it closed in 1972. Our post-adoption services help adults who want to learn more about their experience at St. Vincent's. Our compassionate staff members provide whatever family background information they can offer, along with support and reunion services. To learn more, call 312-655-7093. That's 312-655-7093. The spirit of St. Vincent's lives on in the inspiring stories that continue to emerge today.
We're back. WNDZ, 7:50 a.m., Catholic Chicago with Father Greg Sakowicz. You can go to youtube.com/Catholic Chicago also to view our program. We're with Officer Michael Carroll, Religious Communities Outreach Liaison with the Chicago Police Department. Michael, your position is a position of hope, collaboration, looking to a positive future. What are the challenges today for you as you approach your position today, right now, in this moment?
Today, right now, I think for my position my biggest challenge is to help teach other officers about these different faith communities. A lot of officers might not know that there are groups of Christians, Muslims, Jews that are coming from different parts of the world that they may have never even heard of, Southeast Asia, Africa. So when they come to our city and they need service from our department, a lot of officers might not know the customs, might not know the things about these new people in our city. So for me, the biggest challenge is trying to teach other officers about these different faith communities and different groups. I always start by saying, listen, these are people just like you and me. They have kids. They have to worry about to cut the lawn. They have to worry about taxes, safety, garbage collection. Just because they wear different clothing, speak a different language, eat different food. For me, it was trying to teach other officers around me that the best way to serve these communities is to learn more about these faith communities. So I try to work with other officers in different districts and teach them those things and tell them and work with them. Officers want to serve their community. We all chose this job to serve our community. And that's why I did it. And that's why every other officer that I have met has done it. Any way I can help other officers to connect with those faith groups, I want to do. And that to me is my biggest challenge and my every single day in this position. And then getting out there with those faith groups. I can only do so much at a desk. So for me, getting out and meeting those people, getting coffee, having lunch, those are very important steps that I can take to work with them, learn more about them. And then if, God forbid, something happens, they need they need an officer, they will know how to connect, and hopefully our officers will be able to more easily work with them as well.
So, Mike, you're very simply saying is a big part of your position is relationship building. Not from your
Absolutely.
office, but getting out on the street, going to the different communities, introducing yourself, talking with them, getting to know each other. So which means, as you said in the beginning of the program, this has been a brand new position created. You are the first person in charge of this position. So in many ways, you are learning as you go along. You're actually creating the job description every day.
Absolutely. And that to me is the most important thing. When I first came on, one of the officers who taught me, my field training officer, said, if you don't learn something new every single day, you aren't doing it right. Yeah. It is the most important thing. I have made over 1,000 arrests. I have been out there and done all these things with the department, gotten awards, chased down bad guys. But if you're learning, you can't serve your community properly unless you know your community. So for me, getting out there is the most important thing. And some people say, "Oh, so you go out and drink coffee for a living?" I'm like, well, we all have to have coffee every day. So it's if my connection
coffee
with that community as your coffee
and Mark.
I mean, and that's the most important thing, I think, is that if I can connect to what with them is the most important thing. Their faith, their community, their family is their most important thing. I know it's my most important thing. So if I think of it in that same way, if I do outreach in that same way, I can only do better and learn more. So that's my hope with my position. That's my hope with me working with other officers, saying this is actually more important than you might think. Because most people, when they call police, why do they call police usually? A car accident, maybe, there's a theft. How do we connect with you, the victim of a crime, and help you to solve whatever issues you have? So that's my hope with this position.
Now, this is a difficult question, but in the news recently when the people in the synagogue were able to escape from that, the person holding them hostage, they saved their own lives, but they saved them because they said they received training from the law enforcement in their community. Your motto is to serve and to protect. Do you connect with faith communities that way in terms of training people? You don't want to even think about it, but those folks had training to help save their lives. Are you involved with that with faith communities?
I personally don't teach, but I know that they have officers in the 24th district, for instance, that do go to mosques, that do go to places of worship, that do go to the Jewish community and do teach them those basics. Mm-hmm. So there are private groups also that do it. There are 2 or 3 that I know of personally that go to faith groups and will teach them about, best practices when it comes to if, God forbid, something like that does happen, a person does enter the house of worship with a weapon, what is the process? Mm-hmm. There are groups that do it that are private, and there are officers within our department that also teach. I personally don't, but I have gone through that kind of training, and it is tough because, like I said, I read at Mass. So yesterday I was at Mass up on the altar, And my daughter, who is 10, was also there, and she serves as an altar server. It's always in the back of my mind, these things that are happening in churches in Texas, or because it has happened before in churches, obviously. The Sikh community, the last year, 2 years ago in Christchurch. So these things are happening, and it's terrible. But the more that we know, the more that we train, the better we can be. And then hopefully these kind of things.
You know, Michael, and that is Commander John Hine from 18 for the cathedral has reached out to me, and we've talked more than once about the safety of our people, because it's a reality in the world we live in. But he's an outstanding new commander in 18, and I know him well. Also, you have to know the police chaplain, Father Dan Brandt. Have you been in discussion? He's a funny guy.
him. Look at the smile.
Oh, yeah.
You know
I know him very well. I know him very well.
We all know Dan. He's got a great sense of humor. And now, when you took this position, have you met with Dan to get some advice or some counsel? Because he's the police chaplain for Chicago, so I'm sure you've talked to him.
I'm sure Dan would right now say that Michael needs lots of counsel. He needs lots of counsel. That's what Dan would usually say.
That's the way Dan talks.
But I've known Dan for years, and I also know John Hine also. He was my sergeant 15 years ago, so I know him very well also. So, and now he has a new position, and John's a very good choice to lead that district.
He's doing an outstanding job.
Yeah, so
you didn't answer the question, Michael.
About Dan.
Dan Brandt.
Or maybe Dan comes to you for counsel.
Yeah, I'm sure Dan will be calling in soon if he's watching. I do know Dan very well, and I did reach out to him about this position, and I have, and then not just Dan, but all the chaplains, because they have their finger on the pulse of those communities as well. And every neighborhood is different, and every place is different, and any resource I can get to learn more, and Dan for sure was a resource that I have gone to. In fact, we spoke last week about a different faith group that he and I talked about. So he's there every day. I can call him on a cell phone, and he will answer the phone.
Now, Mike, we need to bring the program to a close. Can you give us maybe a website or a phone number for people to learn more about the position, or if they have questions for you, how they can get in contact with you?
Sure. I can give you my email. It's Michael.Carroll, and it's spelled CARROLL, the number 2, at chicagopolice.org. That's the best way to get a hold of me.
Good.
But any officer, any person in the community who wants to do outreach, wants to learn more, please, anytime. I'm always open to meet new people and learn new things.
I want to thank in a very special way Officer Michael Carroll, the Religious Communities Outreach Liaison with the Chicago Police Department. Michael, it was great having you as a guest today. Keep up the great work. God bless you. Special thanks to our co-host,
Go Ramblers. Go Ramblers.
Go Ramblers. Great work of our producer engineers, Michael May, Brian Hockey, and Brock. To our listeners, God bless all of you. Have a great week.
Join us every Monday through Friday at this time for Catholic Chicago. You can stream our programs live or listen to past programs by visiting our website, archchicago.org, and clicking on Radio TV. And please connect with Catholic Chicago on social media.